I keep trying to find words to say what I want to say, and I keep struggling. But I refuse to have this moment pass without having my feelings like clearly on record. Okay? Like I say it on the radio all the time, but I'm not saying it clearly enough. And I need to say it clearly right now. There are two ways to view what is happening in Gaza. You either believe in war and death as a method, or you don't. You are either hurt legitimately, like you feel it in your soul when you see the death of children and innocent people, or you're unaffected by that. If you were unaffected by seeing the terror at the Nova Music Festival on October 7th and all the other imagery we saw of the atrocity that was October 7th, if that didn't affect you because of whatever has happened prior in this endless crisis that we call the Middle East, if because of that history you weren't affected by that, you may be broken. If you hear now about the death toll of children in Gaza and you're unaffected because you see it as a necessary retaliation or a political strategy, so as a result, you're able to justify the death of children, you're broken. Something has broken. There are only two ways to view this. Either you're okay with the death of innocent people or you are not. If you view the death of innocent Israelis as okay, don't know what to tell you. And to my fellow Jewish Americans who have been learning about, visiting, having this really complex personal relationship with Israel our entire lives, if you are finding ways to justify death of innocent children because of your love of that place or your perceived love of that place or your relationships with that place, if you're finding a reason to justify the death of children, you're broken. Like, stop. If you see an image of a dead child, you care whether that child is Israeli or Palestinian, white or black, Jewish, Christian, whatever? You really care? You think that? Well, I see the dead child. What is their name? What language do they speak? What color are they? You really think that way? I'm sorry. The only way to see this is that a ceasefire has to happen and that the United States has to stop participating in any way. I am a Jewish American. I am a proud Jewish American. I am the child of a woman who was born at a displaced persons camp in 1948, whose family was run all over Europe, whose great aunts and uncles were killed. And thank God my grandparents made it eventually to the United States. My first trip to Israel was in 1984 as a 5-year-old. I have a lot of loving memories of Israel. This is not okay. What happened on October 7th was a nightmare. And to say it was triggering for Jews is a gigantic understatement. But 7 months later, with thousands and thousands of dead, innocent children and women in Gaza, are we safer? Is anyone safer? Is anything better? Really look at why this is happening and explain to me what the roadmap to peace is going to look like. There's no answer. There's no answer. So I know I can probably change no one's mind. We're dug in on this. But I beg you, and specifically the people whose experience I identify with the most, which is American Jews who grew up going to Hebrew school and hearing about Israel and giving tzedakah to Israel and hearing about all the different things related to Israel. I understand that we have a built-in view that is tough to change. And when you hear people throwing around the word Israel like it's a bad word, and the word Zionist has become like it's treated like the worst word on earth. And that is not how we thought of this word growing up. I understand all of these complex thoughts. And I understand that when you see thousands of people protesting in support of Palestine, it feels like they're protesting against you. And I bet there are a couple of people in there that do hate Jews and don't believe in Israel's right to exist. And I get the fact that knowing that some small percentage of those people exists is scary and upsetting. I get it. I feel it. But we cannot allow that to knock us off of our square. The truth that there's no justifying the death of innocent people. There was no justifying it on October 7th, and there's been no justifying it every single day since, period. So don't tell me about the things I need to know, which will make me understand better why this war makes sense. It's impossible. You will never be able to justify why children should die. Imagine believing in God. I'm not religious, but I do believe in God. Imagine believing in God and getting to the pearly gates and trying to explain to God why the death of innocent children makes sense. Imagine that. Imagine the thought, well, those children could grow up one day and not be innocent. That's literally what Nazis said about Jews. They're all bad. Even the children are bad. We have to root them all out. I start shaking thinking about this subject. It's been killing me and my family and so many other people who are much more directly affected by it. So I don't want a pity party. But like this isn't the news of the day. This is like the tragedy of a lifetime. And it's unfolding still all the time. And if I lose a couple of friends or I don't get an opportunity because I said it, but I will be able to tell my unborn children that I said the right things. I had a voice and I said the right things. The only answer is a ceasefire. The only answer is to stop supporting this. The only answer is to get Netanyahu out and to get someone else in who can actually have an interest in working towards peace. This has to end. Never again meant never again. I do not want anyone to think that this is okay. It's not okay.